Welcome to one of the most dynamic and violent environments on Earth. This rocky shore lies at the edge of the continent, relentlessly covered and exposed by the tides. Here, every living creature clings and holds on for dear life. But despite the punishing forces of the ocean and land, these shores are packed with spectacular life in every color and shape. We are on the tip of the African continent. The two dramatic coasts at the southern tip of Africa harbor a long fringe of nearly 3,000 kilometers between the land and sea, unrivaled for its beauty. This narrow band of coast hosts one of the most vibrant and diverse marine lives on our planet, as two very different ocean currents wash up along opposite shores. The warm Agulhas current sweeps down along the east side of the South African coast, and the cold Benguela current moves up along the south and west coasts. On the windy west and south coasts, the cold ocean is loaded with nutrients thanks to a massive coastal upwelling. These are perfect conditions for the large expanses of submerged golden forests thriving along the shallow, rocky coastline. The massive floating forests not only provide shelter from the fury of the Atlantic, but also generate huge amounts of plant food, which is channeled to the shores, creating one of the most abundantly fertile shores on our planet. In the cold ocean, the giant seaweeds are always swaying while breaking up large amounts of plant material, using the waves to move it towards the shores. The rough Atlantic acts as a huge threshing machine, continuously breaking down the floating plants into microscopic pieces. The turbulent ocean near kelp forests also generates impressive amounts of nutritious foam. Down here on the rocky shores, there are millions of customers waiting for this nutritious soup to reach them. Living in this hostile environment has its benefits. The daily rhythm of the tides brings large quantities of food. All you need to do is cling to a rock and wait to be served by the waves. This extra food supplied by the kelp forests creates one of the most productive rocky shores on Earth. With record-beating concentrations of plant-eating limpets and filter feeders. Food may be abundant, but what is really in short supply is the living space. Every bit of bare rock is crowded, and any open space is eagerly contested. Animals and plants are not found at random in the sweeping zone. Order is dictated by a tolerance to extreme forces. In the lower zone, the violence of the pounding waves will remove anything not securely attached to the rocks. Animals with soft and flexible bodies anchor themselves to the rocks. At the other extreme live limpets with their hard shells and a low profile. High on the shore, animals and plants face long hours of being exposed to the sun and dry winds. With low tide, these are potentially lethal conditions, and living creatures have to minimize water loss and heat gain to survive until the tides return. To attach to rocks, mussels generate superglue in the form of strings that stick firmly to the rocks. This glue is so potent that it sticks even under cold water. Others take refuge in numbers, forming impressive colonies which diffuse the energy of the waves. Living on top of rocks, completely exposed to the waves, is by far one of the hardest challenges along these shores. To survive pounding waves, the soft body must be protected, and many creatures living here have solved the problem by developing a hard-shelled roof. They are called limpets, a rather flat snail with a large foot and a strong top shield. They look like the marine version of Da Vinci's War Machine. The rocky shores at the southern tip of Africa are prime limpet territory. But what is even more remarkable is the different way these mollusks stay alive and thrive. They feed on algae by using a long, grasping tongue, which is a marvel of cutting engineering. The rod of sharp teeth is lined with hard minerals that keep the razor-sharp cutting edge filed. A limpet's foot produces a sticky and dense mucus that creates a perfect seal between the rock and the foot, making it impossible to dislodge a limpet by simply pulling on it. The thicker the mucus, the stronger the attachment to the rocks. The shell design is also vital. Some resemble a fast sports car. limpets living on more exposed shores grow hydrodynamic shells with little resistance to water flow. What is even more astonishing is that despite their appearance as a simple mollusk, they display several unique adaptations to survive this hostile environment. Some are able to attain massive densities by maintaining fast-growing gardens of nutritious seaweeds around them. Continuous grazing stimulates the growth of these gardens, so limpets never go hungry and virtually never have to move away. The only problem here is that baby limpets need to stay away from bare rock to avoid being crushed or bulldozed by the adults. The solution? To piggyback on larger limpets until they are large enough to maintain their own kingdom of rock and garden. Limpets with fast-growing gardens can reach impressive numbers on these shores, living in harmony with each other as neighbors. But for other gardeners, the situation is very different. This spiky limpet has a different and much larger seaweed garden. The intricate pattern of the algae patch is the result of the limpet's erratic grazing, which increases the surface area of the algae, thereby preventing the algae from maturing to the point where it can produce its own defensive chemical weaponry. This limpet shell is heavily armed with strong spikes for self-defense against the other grazers who would love to have a free meal from this tasty garden. These shell spikes are used to bulldoze away competition or unwanted visitors. Other species of limpets do not bother to grow gardens and go for a much larger meal, using an ingenious method. This thick-cupped limpet has a serrated edge shell and is preparing to catch its supper. They are most active during the incoming tide that brings the kelp leaves into striking distance. The trap goes up and a vegetarian ambush is set. All that is needed now is good timing. A neighbor already caught a kelp blade. Once the piece is secured, the limpet remains close to the rock and the waves will do the rest. A piece of algae trapped under the shell can be grasped at leisure, safe from the fast currents and waves. Other species of limpets stay away from the pounding waves and live in sheltered and calmer bays. They also need the help of the incoming tides. Sheltered bays house large amounts of drift algae, a potential feast for these flat snails. These are granite limpets, which sit securely fastened on the rocks. But all that changes when they feel the tides coming in. The limpets start to mushroom from the rocks. Some are also trying to avoid being a free ride for young limpets. Because the flow is gentle here, these granite limpets not only lift their shell, but the entire front part of the sticky foot. They are setting their traps to catch a drifting meal. The incoming tides bring plenty of loose algae ever closer to the sticky foot. Large and heavy pieces of drift kelp can make this operation a bit more complicated, but persistence finally pays off and a meal is secured on the sticky foot. Now there will be plenty to eat for a few days. This large abundance of drift algae helps to maintain one of the largest concentrations of limpets along South Africa's cold shores. One of the reasons why there are so many marine animals and plants crowded on this narrow piece of shore is that the tides and waves bring predictably large amounts of food every day. Some sea travelers took advantage of this food bonanza in the process, changing these rocky shores for good. An alien invasion took place here several decades ago. They arrived from distant shores riding on international commercial trade. Attached to the hull of large ships and living in ballast water, a few individuals spawned in the cold water and soon multiplied. These are Mediterranean mussels. They are one of the most aggressive alien species on the African coast and are taking over large sections of the rocks. Today, the invasion continues to expand west and south along southern Africa, completely crowding the rocky shores. Only the warmer Gullis current further east seems to stop the advance. The success of this species is due to the massive amount of food available in the water in the form of microscopic pieces of kelp, which is a nutritious soup for filter feeders. Large amounts of food means that these mussels can grow fast and put a large portion of their energy into reproduction. They are prolific breeders, spawning in the water and producing massive numbers of larvae that settle on the rocks all year round. If the space was limited on the rocks before their arrival, now it is far worse. Mussels are dominating every patch of bare rock, and many limpets have no option but to live on top of the mussel shells. Most of the competition here is for bare rock, and not even the presence of these well-established limpets can stop the fast-growing mussels from encroaching rapidly on their living space. The dramatic increase of proteins on these shores brought an unexpected bonanza, especially for those that can sit and wait for the food to be brought by the waves. Carpets of sandy anemone do just that. They are one of the longest living organisms in our oceans. Individuals can easily pass the 150-year mark. They are beautiful and primitive creatures that show no sign of aging, and they have almost no enemies, as their tentacles are armed with powerful, stinging cells. Here, they sit and wait, forming a carpet of open tentacles, ready to capture anything that is dislodged and brought by the tides. These creatures are not picky, and any food will do. From pieces of algae to a tasty mollusk. An alien is high on the menu list. Empty, clean shells are expelled from their single opening. The mussel bonanza has far-reaching consequences along these sweeping shores. The arrival of a massive food supply on the rocks also changed the life of a unique bird. This is the local African black oyster catcher. A specialized shorebird armed with a razor-chiseled bill, a unique tool able to dislodge limpets and open mussel shells. Before the arrival of alien mussels, this bird was not abundant along the shoreline. There were serious concerns that this beautiful bird may be extinct within a few decades. But all that changed quickly. The dramatic abundance of alien mussels on the rocks has done a great deal to restore the bird population. They breed mostly on offshore islands, but a few venture to settle along this rocky and sandy coast. On a sandy beach, their simple nests are exposed to land predators and off-road vehicles. The survival rate of eggs and chicks is very low, and parents have to be constantly on the defensive. But some have adapted to the ever-encroaching urban developments.